Hi, this is Heather Picken, and welcome to the Woman on Fire Entrepreneur Podcast. How to break through anything, become unstoppable, and be profitable. Learn how to align your mind. Yeah, I call that activating your money mojo. Market to your ideal clients and make money doing what you love. Tired of struggling and trying to figure things out? Do you tend to stop when things get tough? Well, I'm here to steer the ship out of the sea of overwhelm so that you can attract money and success in your business now. Grab your favorite beverage, let's fire it up, get inspired, and live life at your highest potential. Here's Heather with her co-host Chihuahua, Frankie Lee. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Woman on Fire Entrepreneur Show. And I'm always so inspired and excited to, share amazing people, amazing experts from around the world that really want to help you to break through your limitations when it comes to your business. And I love the subject that we're going to be speaking about today because it's all about money. Everybody wants some, right? It's slipping through your fingers. You're freaking out about it. And let's face it, you need money to build your business and, of course, to create the kind of experiences that you want in life. And so I want to introduce my guest today, formerly known as Amethyst Wildfire, is Emerald Peaceful GreenForest. And I know that's a mouthful. So would you like me to call you your first name? Emerald?
Emerald's good.
Emerald. I love Emerald.
Emerald's good. Yeah.
So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Heather. You and I go way, way back. I think the first time you and I connected was on a telesummit that you did in 2009. So we have a long history of being together, and I'm just so grateful to be here and to be able to serve your audience and to play with you again.
I love that. I know it's been such a long time. And, one of the most important things that I know I want to discuss as it pertains to, because a lot of the viewers and listeners are women and they're wanting to build businesses or they have a business. And a lot of times what happens is that there's a lot of issues with money. So we're going to be talking about that subject. But before we dive really deep into that, can you share with our viewers and our listeners a little bit about you and how you help people?
Sure. Yeah. So my business is the Empowered Messenger, and I work with women all around the world, and I help them to feel great speaking and powerful asking for money. And my primary focus right now is really helping women to go beyond abundance thinking. So a lot of the work in the marketplace is around getting out of scarcity thinking and into abundance. But my work now is really helping us to go beyond abundance and into a space of being able to welcome wealth, which has a whole different vibration and is a whole different dynamic than the abundance vibration. And I've been working with women around the world now since 2008. And, I think probably one of my most impressive clients is Lisa Sasevich, who after we worked together was able to double her first 7-figure year, and she's since gone on to make $30 million in her business. So I'm really about helping women to make that quantum movement so that they can get their message out. Really, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about the message that you are here to offer into the world, the service that you're here to offer into the world, and being able to convert that calling into cash flow in a way that allows you to expand your reach and really grow what you have to offer and serve as many of your right people as you're meant to serve.
I love that. I love that. I think it is important. I think more women should be getting out there and already step into that abundance mindset. So here's the problem that I find is that, a lot of women in their businesses right now, I feel, and maybe you see this going on too, they're in this really hard transition period, whether they're trying, to really create a message that is, number one, authentic, so they can put themselves out there, but they just don't know how. And the second piece is they know they need to invest in themselves, but this money piece seems to be this ongoing conversation where they just can't seem to get ahead. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the way I look at it is that the money and the message are definitely intertwined. So you can come in from either door, right? And that's really what my brand is all about, and the service that I offer is all about. We can come in the message door or we can come in the money door. But either door that we come into, we're going to have to work on both of them in order for it to be really functional. If you are going to have a successful business, fundamentally, you need to have clarity and authenticity around your messaging. You have to know exactly, specifically, and precisely what you stand for. And for me, that's a vibrational stand that you're taking. And when you are able to align vibrationally with what your calling is, then everything that comes out of you, whether it's words, images, a talk, whatever it is that comes out, is going to be coming out with that clear vibrational transmission, right? And so you're going to naturally make the connection with the people. It's not always so much about the words. A lot of times people get really caught up in, oh my God, I have to have this exact specific, precise wording in order for my people to connect with me. And really it's more about, I have to be aligned with where I stand in the world and be willing to put myself out there in ways that may even offend people. Great. If you're going to offend people with your message, that means you're going to really be magnetic to the right people for your message. So, we can come in at that angle on the message side of things where, from my perspective, clarity is divinity, right? Or we can come in on the money angle. And what I have found around the money piece is that women have 5 ways that we ward off wealth. There are actually 5 ways that we ward off wealth. And what we must do is be able to not only get into right relationship with money, but we must be in a continuous improvement process in that relationship with money. It's not like a one and done thing.
Right.
When we're talking about money can be an experience that we can allow ourselves to have an exponential growth in our experience in our relationship with money. And it will reflect in our bank accounts and in our business as this exponential growth. So it's important to have in place a consistent, devoted, committed practice to consistently looking at and working with your money relationship, because really money is with you pretty much from the time of your first piggy bank until your last breath. And as a business owner, money is the fuel that runs your entrepreneurship. It's the gas that runs your ship and that allows you to take your message out into the world. So this money challenge that a lot of women have is more of an internal disconnect from their own value and their own worth and the value and worth of what it is that they have to offer than it is actually from money. But money is the doorway. Again, the tool, right. The sacred partner, shall we say, in this dance of recognizing your own worth, your own value, and the value of what it is that you have to offer into the marketplace.
I love what you're saying because it so resonates with me and how I help my clients. And I know women that are watching are going, oh my gosh, that's me. Because I find a lot of people, when they're not authentic to themselves, then their marketing message, they put it out there, and it just kind of feels off for people, whether it be an unconscious or conscious response. So what you're saying is like, listen, you really have to own who you are. You have to know who you are in order to put that message out there. And are people going to get pissed off? Yeah, they're going to get pissed off. So let them be it, because then, if they're going to get pissed off, you're on the right track, because leaders, if you look at leaders in history, they've been ridiculed, persecuted for their ideas until that new paradigm shifts.
Exactly. And you wouldn't be a leader or a visionary if you didn't have some kind of upsetting the apple cart, idea, vision, or message. And so you're naturally going to run up against resistance. And really the work is not so much to kind of run headlong into confrontation. It's not about that. It's about to be so exquisitely committed to standing in your own power and standing for your message, standing for your gift, standing for your vision, that you become a magnet that either repels, yay, or simultaneously is going to be attracting. So it's going to repel your wrong people, and it's going to naturally attract your right people. So we can celebrate being repellent. And again, it's not about, choosing to go into confrontation, but it's about standing in a space where if repelling is happening, we're not taking it personally. We're actually looking at it as a sign that we're doing something right.
I love that. And, I think, especially being in the online world, there is more ridicule and persecution when you're putting yourself out there. You've got a different idea, or let's say you're talking about wealth and then you get comments, oh, that person's a scammer. And I just think it's ridiculous because I know a lot of these people and, I've had my own ridicule and persecution. And when I did years ago, I literally lost it. I was like, oh my gosh, what do people think about me? But, at the end of the day, who really cares? Because if you're not living your life for yourself and helping other people, then you're just subordinating to authority figures, and then you really don't, you're not bringing that most authentic expression into the world.
Exactly. Well, I had a mentor, medicine man, who actually was so beautiful when I first had my initial spiritual awakening that brought me into being Amethyst Wildfire. And I've since had another spiritual up level to Emerald Peaceful GreenForest. But when I first had that awakening and I was beginning to work with medicine and doing crystals and crystal healing, I came across this man and I looked at him and I was like, you're the one that I'm supposed to be working with. And he was like this big medicine man. And after I worked with him, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you let me work with you. And he said, there's no hierarchy amongst medicine people, first of all. And the second thing, every time he signed off, he would say, what you think of me is what other people think of me is none of my business. So I want to invite you who are watching to remember your business is not what other people think of you. Your business is standing in your power, saying yes to your infinite source who is inspiring you and calling you forth to stand for something in the world. And your business is making sure that your relationship with yourself and with your message is clear, and that your relationship with yourself and with money is clear. And then it's really up to the dynamics that are naturally going to unfold as long as you're holding that space, that naturally success is going to begin to coalesce around you in its exact right timing as well. So that's another thing that I think is important for people to remember. Sometimes you can be doing the step by step by step by step by step work, and the work for you is really to stay committed to continuing to do that inner work and take those steps. And then all of a sudden, boom, things blossom, right? Boom. Like that.
I love that, and it's funny because as you're talking about, this whole, what I call this business evolution, like your business has changed over time. Mine is, because it's like the clearer your vision is, the deeper the connection you can bring out into the world of saying, hey world, this is me, hello, welcome. And also along the journey, and maybe you can share some of your wisdom, whether it be yourself or your clients, that there are roadblocks in the way. It's like we want those people that are going to support us in our vision. However, we attract those people into our lives, situations or people that challenge us to bring us our most authentic expression in our business. So I was wondering if you could share any stories, either with yourself or with clients that you work with, that have that kind of like the dark night of the soul going, okay, I'm on fire, I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden it's like, the clients don't show up, or it's crickets, or, you're attracting crappy clients that can't pay you, or they're saying bad things about you. So I know I've experienced that. So sure. I'm very transparent. So I'm wondering what your experience or the clients that you've worked with.
So I'm going to give you two stories. One is going to be personal and one is going to be about a client. The personal story is I have come to understand, and it's taken, 8 years for me to understand in this particular business, that when money's tight, it's generally a sign that it's time for me to move to another space, usually a bigger space, a more expanded space, to give myself a raise. generally speaking, to up-level myself. So way back at the beginning, when I first had my spiritual awakening, one of the things I was doing was like readings and healings and, charging $45 for a reading, and which is so far beyond where I am now. But I remember I was doing readings and people were coming to my tables. I was going to fairs and stuff like that. And this was at the very beginning of my spiritual work. Up until then, I had been in the real estate business, and I was the national chairperson of my trade association and was, responsible for hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate. So it was a big, huge transition for me. And so I did this like crystal reading stuff for a while. And then all of a sudden, nobody was coming to my table. Nobody was coming to my table. And I would go to another expo and it would be like, nobody's coming to my table. And then finally I said, okay, I guess I got to try something else. I've got to experiment. I've got to expand. I've got to do something else. So I went to the next level, which was, offering workshops in a particular healing modality. Well, now instead of getting $45 for a reading, I was getting $450 for a workshop, literally like adding a zero onto the end, right? And what happened was I got out of the way of the person who then, the next 6 months later, I went into that expo and there was somebody in the corner in my seat, quote unquote, my seat, doing crystal readings or whatever, right? So I had to get out of the way to move into my next level of service so that the people who are coming up behind me would have the space to step into as well. So I've found that when money is tight, it's generally because we're taking up space that we don't belong in anymore. And it's time for us to expand and grow. And what's funny about that, the paradox about expanding and growing, is often expansion means doing less, but in a bigger way.
Yes. I totally agree that I really want women to listen to that, what you're saying, because the mentality. So my father was, operating from the model of you got to work hard, you got to bust your butt. And that paradigm no longer works effectively. It's kind of a broke paradigm. So, what you're saying is, you'll get those clues when money is tight that you just need to go to the next level. Now, here's another question, because, okay, let's just say women are identifying with you and saying, okay, I know I need to do that. However, this is the so-called reality of my situation where my funds are really tight. I know I need to invest in a coach or mentor because I can't get out of my own way. I need to have a better message that is more authentic. So they're in that place. How do they navigate around that? What are some of the tips and strategies?
Great. So now I'm going to talk about my client, Cammie. So my client, Cammie, has been in the real estate business herself for a number of years, and suddenly was called to be a messenger. And we came together, and I offered her the opportunity to work with me in a very deep, very intensive, very high invested way, highly invested. And here's what I'm going to say about investing in yourself. If the spirit has given you the vision to move into a new space, even if it appears as if, even if you've convinced yourself, right, that the resources aren't there, the first step is to say yes. So I'm going to give you the 5 I's of the whys. So I get inspired, right? I get inspired, or you get inspired, or somebody gets inspired. They know they need to work with a mentor, and they're getting the inspiration that there's a new space for them to move into. So the second I is you've got to invest. And the bigger of an investment that you make, the more faith you're demonstrating in your own capacity to bring this vision into fruition, and the more faith you're demonstrating in your connection with your infinite source that provides everything anyway, right? So the third I is to immerse yourself in the work. So Cammie made a $25,000 investment to work with me. Mm-hmm. And she immersed herself in the work. We deeply went into the work and came out of the work becoming very clear that she was meant to be speaking on stages, doing trainings, doing workshops around the topic of networking. instead of being in the real estate business. So she had one plate spinning, the real estate business. And we literally built a bridge while we kept this plate spinning to her new networking business. Within, I think it was 7 months, on Christmas Day, she generated 5 figures on Christmas Day in her new business. So part of it is being able to say yes and move forward in faith and know that the resources that you already have are actually meant to fuel your growth into that next level. And before our work together was done, Cammie's and my work together was complete, she had returned into her business everything that she invested in me and then some. Everything, and she didn't invest in me, she actually invested in herself through my body of work, right? So the important thing to remember is you get inspired, you invest, you immerse yourself, then you integrate. So integration is all about distilling out of the work that you're doing with your mentor what serves you best and serves your vision best and throwing away the rest of it. I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in mentors and had fire ceremony to throw out 90% of what they taught me because I needed the 10%, right? It was the 10% that was the gold that was there. Right. And the other 90% was creating static, right? And creating all of this busy work that I didn't even need to be doing. So you've got to integrate, meaning take what works for you and throw the rest away. And then the final I of the wise is implement. Like, you can't receive all this information and all of these activations and all of this education and just sit there and not do anything with it. So you've got to implement, because it's in the implementation process that you begin to be able to not only course correct, but discover the parts of the learning that you've received that are easing your path into that bigger vision. Yes?
I love that. And I know there's going to be light bulbs right now going off for everyone going, oh my gosh, this is so true. And just, to let other women know, like, listen, this journey is not a linear journey. It's not an easy path. There's going to be pain and pleasure. And you've got to understand through, you can equilibrate your mind, have that sense of wisdom. Anyone that's looking for a get rich quick scheme overnight is living in a fantasy, because it really is about discovering who you are, your unique gifts, being true to yourself. And sometimes that really takes people getting comfortable. I like to say comfortable wearing the energy of what that feels like so that they can put their message into the world. Like, some people are quicker to say, okay, I'm going to own this, and other people take a little bit longer, in moving forward. So,
well, I would also speak to that as well. There are leapers. I'm a leaper. Like a new vision, I'm like, I'm there. I'm a leaper.
Yeah.
And for me personally, in the last year, actually since last December, I keep getting the message 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so for me, I've actually been asked to shift out of leap and into step by step. Right? It's a growth edge for me to go into step by step. And then there are other people who are, I'm going to take this step, I'm going to take this step, I'm going to take this step. And then all of a sudden something happens and they're like, I'm leaping. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So we need to just be present to the journey as well as the destination. I often talk about the and, right? It's about the journey and the destination. It's not just about the journey. It's not just about the destination. It's about both. And it's about really extracting the wisdom, the power, the impact, the pleasure of both of experiences. And I'll tell you, my business has morphed multiple times in the last 8 years. And every time it's morphed, again, it's become more narrow in intent, but more expansive in service, if that makes sense. right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And, I think if people go into that knowing like, listen, sometimes it can happen quickly, just depending on, where your mind is, how you're aligning your vision to what you want to do, and that there's no wrong answer. I also find too that the more challenges you have, the better leader you become, because you get paid to the degree of what you're putting out there in the marketplace, with your own value. You've got to own it. And you got to go through those challenges, even though I'm sure you've been through those. Where I'm like, why am I attracting this?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. And so again, I'm going to come back to, the Empowered Messenger brand. The messenger part, right? The messenger part is about that committed clarity, that continuous commitment to becoming clearer and clearer and clearer in your message, in your signaling, in your vibrational signaling of who you are and what you stand for, and being constantly committed to being that clear channel through which the message is coming. Like when I come onto something like this, I don't have in my head like, oh, I got to say this, I got to say this. I have, am I clear? Am I grounded? Am I open to delivering what I am meant to deliver that is already divinely planned to land and activate in the right exact people who are a perfect match and fit for me? And my only work is to be focused on being clear within myself so that I can be a freely flowing channel of information and transformation no matter where I show up. So that's the message side of things. The empowered side of things is to be in a continuously committed process, devoted process to improving your relationship with money consistently, again and again and again and again and again. And I will say what I have seen is, again, there are those people who are building step by step, and then all of a sudden one day they blossom, and then there are the leapers who sometimes will leap, but they haven't got the foundation under them to really land the leap, right? And then their job is, oh my God, I landed over here. What am I going to do? And that was one of the things that happened when I first worked with Lisa Sasevich, who I mentioned at the beginning. She went from making $150,000 a year to having her first 7-figure year. It was a quantum leap. And when she hit this point, that was when we did some work together. And it was in our work that she was able to really ground and anchor that leap, and since has built from that to a $30 million business. So, I think that the main point I want to get across is maintaining that devotion to clarity and maintaining that devotion to being in right relationship with money. And now, you're good. You're good. No matter what happens, right? No matter what happens, you're good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for those, also, as we're wrapping up here, because I think this is a really important question, what do you think the difference is in vision and mindset, someone making 100,000 and someone making $1 million?
So somebody who's making $100,000, their vision is probably vast, but they are not permitting themselves to say yes to it, or they have convinced themselves that they somehow have to do it all, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody who's, let's say plateaued at $100,000. They are in a space where they are unwilling to give themselves permission to allow a bigger vision to manifest through them, or to ask for help, right? So somebody who's generating $1 million a year or more has totally shifted their mindset to a place where they recognize it's not them doing it, it's being done through them. And not only through them, but through a support system. Generally speaking, at least a minimum support system of 3 to 5 people to be able to have in this market, in this kind of in the internet space, 3 to 5 people minimum are going to be your support team to be able to really do justice to the work, right? So there's that piece, but there's also the piece of really understanding that the 100,000 person is still kind of caught up in not really being clear in their own value, never mind the value of what they have to offer. Whereas the $1 million person is very clear that it's all about the service. It's all about the value to the audience, the value to the people that they are meant to be serving, and less about them and more about the results, more about the service that's meant to be delivered into the world. Yeah?
I love that. And I think that's going to help everyone that's watching this or thinking about their own business instead of, living a get by life, they can give themselves permission to step into that vision. And Emerald, gosh, this has been such an amazing conversation. I know this is going to reach the hearts of so many amazing women looking to be a leader in their own business. Now, before we leave, I know you said you had a special gift. So what is it and where can people learn about that?
So I have for you a special training program called When Money's Tight. And it's actually a 75-minute audio program that I created out of a period of my own life where money got tight. And it is an opportunity for you to receive some of the practices that I do myself personally when I am in that space where money's getting tight again, so that you can start to expand your capacity to receive and have more cash flow and more clients coming to you. You can get that at theempoweredmessenger.com/gifts, GIFTS. And that's also going to put you into our mailing list for the Empowered Edge, which is our monthly e-zine. And there's finally, there's 3 gifts there. The opportunity to apply for a Message to Millions map session with me. That is, we only have a certain number of spots available, and the application process is a vetting process where we discern whether or not it's a really good fit for us to have that conversation with you. My time is valuable, your time is valuable. So I definitely recommend that you fill out that application. Oftentimes people will say, I filled out the application, and just filling out the application gave me some insight and some vision into areas where I was stuck in my own business that I wasn't seeing, that I wouldn't have seen if I hadn't answered those questions. So you can go ahead and fill out that application. And if it's a right fit for us to have a conversation, I think we have about 10 or 12 open spaces in the calendar for the right fit people. And there are some people in this audience who are going to be repelled by me. Yay! Yay! If you're repelled by me, I do pray that you receive some kind of little tidbit, nugget, spark of wisdom. And please go find the person who is resonant with you, who is your right fit, who is the person who's meant to serve you. Maybe it's Heather. Maybe it's some of the other people that she has speaking on her show. And bless you. And I'm so glad you're repelled. And for those of you who are really attracted, please fill out the magic form. I would love to have a conversation with you if it's a right fit.
I love that, Emerald. And for those that are watching this video format or over on iTunes, there's actually a link in the show notes. So you want to make sure that you go below the interview and click on there, and then you'll get access to those free gifts. Well, Emerald, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you so much for having me, Heather, and thank you so much for all your...
So if you found this show to be helpful, please hashtag WOFE, that stands for Woman on Fire Entrepreneur, and subscribe to this show in iTunes and leave me a review. I want to know how these shows have helped you. I also want to know the number one thing that you're struggling with the most in your business. Every week, I give away complimentary sessions to help you get it clear on your next steps and to activate your money mojo. You can learn more about my work if you go to www.heatherpicken.com.